Hello, welcome back to my haunted library. It's Regina. I hope everyone is doing well. We are still, in my household, still self-isolating, still healthy, thank goodness. So I hope everything is going well with all of you and that this whole thing passes very soon. I know we all want that. So in the meantime, there's a lot to read. And I never get bored with all of these books, and I'm also working on some writing projects as well. So I'm continuing with my V.C. Andrews Dollanganger series reviews with the next book in the series, the fourth book, The Seeds of Yesterday. I have a nice hardback version with that great illustration on the back. I love those. There's a whole Pinterest, or many, I should say, not just one, Pinterest sites devoted to these V.C. Andrews illustrations, and I love them all. So The Seeds of Yesterday was supposed to be the last book in the Dollanganger series, and I believe it is the last book that V.C. Andrews actually wrote for the series. She died relatively young. So this story picks up where Chris and Kathy are now in their 50s. They're like an old married couple, although still very fabulous and attractive, and they are going to visit their son Bart, who has inherited all that Foxworth money, and he's taken the old Foxworth Hall and rebuilt it into this palatial estate. And he's going to have a big party for his 25th birthday. So like his parents, Jory is a ballet star with his wife, Melody. So they are world-renowned ballet dancers, married couple, everything's going great. But Melody is pregnant. And it wasn't really planned. She wasn't really ready to have a child yet. She was still working with her dance career, but they're very happy about it. They show up at Foxworth Hall, as does little Cindy, who is now a 16-year-old cutie. So everyone gathers at the estate. Now, we know that John Amos died in the last book in the fire of Corinne's, not Foxworth Hall, that was the other fire, but Corinne's house when she lived next to Chris and Kathy as the mysterious woman in the veil. So V.C. Andrews has these tropes, like we need the religious fanatic, we need the incest theme, we need to keep reinventing these tropes because that's her brand, I guess. So even though John Amos died, there's a new guy named Joel who's Corinne's secret brother, who supposedly was killed in an avalanche, but actually ended up in a alpine monastery in northern Italy and lived it like a monk. And now he's back as Bart's butler and advisor. So again, Bart has this kind of fire and brimstone religious advisor telling him about how evil his ways are, but mostly everyone else around him, like little Cindy, who is a 16-year-old sexpot who wants to make out with boys and wear really sexy clothes, which bothers Bart, but it doesn't bother him to take other liberties with her, if you know what I mean. So there's that. Now, I love Bart's character. He is really a lot of fun. The last book I found kind of dull in a way just because of the way it was written, but now we're back in the swing of things. We got a really great story going on. So Bart has this big party. He wants to impress all the neighbors, all the people who never respected the Foxworths. And during the party, Jory and Melody, because Melody's pregnant, I forgot about this, Cindy decides she's going to dance a ballet. She just happened to be, studying ballet in her free time. So she is going to dance the ballet with Jory. And everyone comes into the garden to watch this great performance. And during the key scene, when Samson pulls down the pillars, one falls on Jory. And it had like real cement in it or something, or wet sand, or somebody did something to make this happen. Was it Bart? Was it Joel? So Jory is seriously injured in this accident and is paralyzed. And again, we now have a character who's in a wheelchair. This is also a recurring theme in V.C. Andrews' works. And he now will never dance again. So this is devastating for him, and everyone's heartbroken. And we see through Kathy's point of view how upset she is, how devastated she is. And Kathy's character really comes out in this book, I have to say. Like, we see a more human side to her, her flirtation, her seductive vixen ways are way behind her now. She's a reflective, middle-aged woman who likes to spend time in the garden and take care of her children, and she just wants everyone to get along. And some of the best scenes in this are the ones that I love, are the really high camp ones where Cindy's making out with one of her boyfriends and Bart comes in and beats up the boyfriend like while he's naked on top of Cindy. It's really funny. And he starts to kind of control her sexuality, but there's also this attraction between them. So there is a real, they're playing with that incest theme, although they're not actually brother and sister. It's a very titillating part of the story, I must say. And kind of hilarious. This also has a very gothic feel to it because everything takes place in Foxworth Hall, the new Foxworth Hall. And Melody goes into a deep depression over Jory's injury, and she's now pregnant with twins. She won't visit him in the hospital. She can't handle it. Kathy comes in and says, snap out of it. You got to be there for your husband. And she just completely falls apart. And Bart starts making nocturnal visits into her room, which isn't helping things. So Bart, who was always jealous of Jory, starts to have an affair with his wife, Melody. Kathy finds out. She's very upset. And then Bart kind of turns it on her. Well, what about you and your husband, your own brother? And oh no, it gets very dramatic. So Melody gives birth to twins, a boy and a girl who look just like little Corey and Chrissy, is it? I'm trying to remember the names. But she has no interest in raising the children. She becomes more and more distant. And finally, she moves away and just decides that she wants nothing to do with his family. She's going to start over with her dance career. And Kathy takes over the parenting of the twins, along with a new girl that comes in, a nanny named Tony. Now, Tony and Jory start having an attraction, and of course, Bart has to come in and ruin it by seducing Tony. He can't let go of his rivalry with his brother, even though his brother is in a wheelchair. So Tony and Bart had this affair. Eventually, she realizes he's not a very nice person. She gets back with Jory. Things start to become more stable within the family. Chris and Kathy decide they're going to take the twins and move away from the new Foxworth Hall and kind of start over, when lo and behold, something horrible happens to Chris. He's killed in a car accident, just like his father, Christopher. So not that I don't feel bad for Chris's character, I do, but again, a car accident as a major plot point seems to be a recurring theme in all of V.C. Andrews' works. So the ending of the book, though, is very sad because losing Chris, Kathy just can't go on. She's lost her soul. And in a very sad scene, she wanders up to the Foxworth attic, just like she did as a child, although she was forced there. And she sits in the attic, gazes out of the attic window, and slowly just dies. Of a broken heart, we assume. So that's The Seeds of Yesterday, except there is one more book called Garden of Shadows, written by Andrew Niederman. Now, I had mentioned there's a series of Lifetime movies that are definitely worth checking it out. As far as I know, there's not one for the fifth book, but there's a great one for Seeds of Yesterday, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think you will too. It gets very, very campy and very fun. So, yeah, definitely enjoyed this one. This was one of my favorites of the whole series. So that's all I have for today. Stay safe. Let me know how you're doing. And I will see you next time in my haunted library. Bye.